Well, let's talk that issue. We'll talk about money, how it concerns women, empowerment, but let's talk about how to empower the whole nation and ensure that we get Nigerians out of poverty and dire humanitarian situation. We're joined by the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Ntawe Yuwata. He's live in our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the program, Honorable Minister.
No, thank you so much.
Your ministry is a very important one. We always say there is no small minister, there's no small ministry, but yours even takes it up a notch. Yes, there's the Minister of Petroleum, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Minister of Finance, but you are in charge of humanitarian affairs and poverty reduction. That's like a super ministry on its own. And we just came off this back and forth. Well, I wouldn't call it back and forth, but this debate around whether Nigerians were better off in 1960, the AFDB president speaking to that, and the presidential spokesman saying, well, no, you didn't use the right metrics, don't use GDP per capita. But one thing is clear, right? Nigerians are not as better off in that sense when you look at some of those indices, the purchasing power, what they can afford, the value of the naira, the cost of food items, the cost of rent, cost of power, cost of data, transportation, petrol, almost beyond the reach of the poor Nigerians. So I want to start from poverty reduction, which is also a part of your ministry, and find out just where we're at. Yes. Because the World Bank predicts that there will be more Nigerians in poverty by 2027 when this government will be due for re-election. So where are we, Honorable Minister? And let's speak as objective as we can, which I know can be tough.
Yes. Yes, let me be objective as possible. And, you know, we look at the indices that has to do with poverty, and like I keep on saying, most of these indices, they lie around the state governments and local governments. As a federal government, we're trying to do our intervention as much as possible. When you look at the multi-dimensional poverty indices, access to education, primary education is at local government level, secondary education at the state level. Health, access to health. Primary health is at the local government, secondary health is at the state government. If we look at water and sanitation, they are at the local government and state level. But as a government, that's for multidimensional poverty. But when it comes to empowering people so that they will come out of poverty, that's the role we play heavily. And that's where we come in now. And that's the reason why we look at all the areas that Nigeria needs critical intervention. And one of the areas of critical intervention is food security. And the president said, he directed that all the empowering agencies from the Ministry of Labor, my ministry, Ministry of Youth, Ministry of Agri, and several other ministries should focus on key areas that can empower and provide food security and provide also empowerment and livelihood to people of Nigeria. And one of them is the one I'm taking now. We are running a program over the years, and we're starting with phase 1 now, that will run from now till December. We'll run training programs. This one will be 3 weeks program that will empower young people in solar energy, that's renewable energy, in agriculture, and automobile. And these are premised on some of the needs of the country. For example, do we need food? Of course, yes, we need food. There are projections that will have food insecurity, premised on several factors. One of the key factors this year is climate change. You recall that Borno State, you recall how Borno was washed, Bauchi was washed, Adama was washed, and several other states around the bank of the River Niger and River Benue were washed down to Bayelsa. Most farms were washed and they were not insured. So there are predictions of food shortage in Nigeria, and this is part of the reason why we're working on this training, empowering people, giving them a starter pack so that they can go and start their farming, and they can also farm and improve the food security, also improve their income this year. Secondly, we have energy shortage, and most people want energy to their homes, energy to their industries, energy to their small and nano businesses. And we're training them in renewable energy, solar specific, the installation and deployment. And this is going to be done across the 6 geographical zone of the country. Then we're also doing another third one, automobile. The reason we're taking automobile because of the deepening of technology in the automobile sector. Cars have become more automated. The mechanics we have some years back, most of them cannot even run and maintain the cars that we have now. So we're working with one of the latest cars industry in Nigeria, the GAG Motors in Lagos. They will provide training across the 6 geographical zone for the latest handling of modern cars in terms of maintenance of automobiles. So these are key areas we're taking to ensure that, apart from empowering the people that we're bringing on board, we want to fill the economic gaps that we have in the country. And this is an opportunity not just for the young men alone, but also for us to fill the national workforce gap that we have in the country. And that's what we're doing. So we'll flag off in Lagos tomorrow, but we'll have other training zones in the South-South will be in Delta, the Southeast will be in Enugu, the North-Central will be in Jos, the Northwest will be in Kano, and the Northeast will be in Yola. So all these we'll do and we'll come in for 3 intensive weeks of training. And after the training, we'll give the opportunity of writing exam and empowering them. But that will not be the end of it. We'll also monitor them. We'll work with ITF. ITF has offices across the nation. So we'll give the names of these people who are involved to ensure that they provide support for them, M&E for them. And monitor that we'll advise also create cooperatives. They work in cooperatives. Now, this is an opportunity for us to advance them. If you performed after this training, after you create cooperative, if you perform, then we can now graduate into our loan scheme, the JIP program that we give loan for nano business, small and nano businesses. And that will help them to start off and run businesses and fill the economy and allow the youths, the younger people, to participate in the economy. I think that's the core of the program we're doing this week.
Honorable Minister, I'd like us to talk about the poverty reduction component of your ministry. And in relation to that,
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
put it in proper context by speaking specifically to the government's
Yes.
conditional cash transfer scheme. The
Yes.
Ministry of Finance has said that 25 million households have received the 25,000 naira under the scheme. I'm not quite sure over what period now, but the World Bank is saying that.
Let me correct you.
Let me land, sir.
Let me correct you first. It's not 25 million. It's rather 5 million Nigerians, 5 million households, of average of 5 persons per household. When you multiply that 5 million households by the 5 people per household, we've touched roughly about 25 million Nigerians. I think that's the figures.
So the 25 million figure is correct. But the World Bank is saying that that scheme has missed its mark as the real people have not been targeted, with only 37 million Nigerians targeted so far. I'm wondering if the internally displaced persons have been covered under the scheme. That's on the one hand. Even if they have, the scheme may have missed its mark because more people, according to the World Bank, are being thrown into poverty as the day goes by, particularly because of rising costs in foodstuff. So has that scheme not missed its mark with the large portion of people in IDP camps that we have in the country?
I think anybody that read the World Bank report would have gotten the context. What you said may not be completely correct. What the World Bank is saying is that the ministry should reach more people. We've reached only 5 million people who are targeting 15 million households. And they say we should fast-track the process of reaching all the 15 million households. Now, how many households do we have in Nigeria? Nigeria has about 43 million households. And we're targeting 15 out of the 43 million households. And that's roughly over 38% of the households in Nigeria being reached by that, about 40% of the households in Nigeria being reached by that program. And if we can reach roughly about 40% of the household in this program, the World Bank said it's a good number. But they say we should fast-track the process of reaching out the 15 million households that we want to reach out this year. So far, if within the first, this is the second quarter, and we have covered about 6 million households already, we are targeting that before the year runs out, or before October, November, we should be able to reach the 50 million household. Why are we delaying why is the process slow? What we've done is that we want to verify all the people on the social register that they claim to be poor. So we are going house to house. We are geotagging all the homes of people that are on the social register. We are verifying, we are giving them verified account numbers. We are giving them verified NIN number. We are giving them verified telephone number. Using simple AI, we can generate data about them across their consumption, across their accounts, across their data, their data from telcos, and that will give us an average information about the income of the people who are selecting and targeting to reach out through the conditional cash transfer. So far, we'll be able to reach out to 6 million people, and we're targeting that we should reach out to the remaining number of people. But we'll deploy across the whole country. All the 36 states, including Abuja, are already involved in this targeting of reaching out to these people, these numbers, because we have 19.7 million people on the social register, 19.7 million households on the social register, covering about 71 million people, and covering over 230 communities across the country. So we are covering all the villages in Nigeria, we are covering all the local governments, we are covering all the people. And what we've done also is that in distributing of this targeting, we are doing 50% on equity. So 50% distributed equal across all the communities in Nigeria. But 50% is distributed based on the poverty rate in the community we're having. So that is the way we've been targeting and reaching out to the people. The World Bank is involved. The World Bank even did a recent research. You can even verify from them. They did the research. And they said the research shows that 96% of the people that we got and we targeted in the distribution that we've done so far is reaching out to the right people. Secondly, they said 96 out of 100% is a very good number for community targeting that we've done. Secondly, they also said in their own report, which is also the World Bank report, which you can verify also from them, that the program are also doing that people that were targeted before, out of the 5 million people that we targeted, before they said that they could not afford their businesses, their income, and the rest, but that over 70% of them have shown that that money has helped them to improve their business, to improve their income. Some went into farming, some went into small-scale businesses, some went into nano businesses, because we have financial literacy along with the money we're distributing. So we're not just sharing money alone, but we're also improving and also creating a financial inclusion and creating a new penetration for the fintechs, especially in the rural communities. So what we're doing is not just about distributing money alone, but the penetration, the revolving of money around communities, also helping the fintechs to develop and penetrate into rural communities, and helping also the rural communities to be involved in, because they now have verified telephone numbers, they can also make more calls. So these are part of the economic development we're doing across the country. So it's not just about distributing money.
All right, Minister, so let's take it a bit further. In fact, as a matter of fact, so today I'm going to put a call to my village and to my local government to verify some of these claims you've made about how much you've done in terms of getting across as many villages as possible, because that's where we'll get the facts on the ground. So, and I'll revert on that if we have you again. But one of the things I want to speak to...
Let me ask you, the only way you can verify is that I'll give you the list of people in your community. You give me your community, then I'll give you the list of people in your community, then you call them.
I will.
Because you can't just call anybody at random and say that the person is in the social register. But I can give you the list of people in your community.
Okay.
Then you will not call those people.
I'll get
but
that.
You cannot call a random person on the street and say that you are using that person as a basis for.
Well, I know some of the poor people in my villages, so no problem. I'll get that list from you, and I'll verify with them and speak to authorities within the village and the local government.
With all pleasure.
Okay, fantastic. So, Minister, you have to deal with either nature's wrath or consequence of bad governance as a humanitarian minister. That's exactly what the ministry is all about, because if governance is working, there will not be need for humanitarian affairs, or if maybe nature in that sense. I'm talking about emergencies and all of that. But we've also heard stories around this in itself becoming a source of enterprise, a proliferation of NGOs, especially in the north, renting out hotels for 10 years or renting out apartments for 10 years, because this has become some level of enterprise for them. So some of these people, this should not end. People should always be in a case of chaos and crisis. I don't know what information you have and what is being done in that direction. And in addition to that, I know in your state, Benue State, there has been this killing. In fact, we had a lady here who said she was living in the
I'm from Plateau.
Yes, you're in Plateau. Okay, I want to reference. I know there were killings. My apologies. There were killings on the Plateau as well. We refer to it as a carnage on the Plateau. Yes. But I want to reference something that happened in Benue, that an IDP, a lady that lived in an IDP camp, whose parents at that time was living in an IDP camp, was even complaining that at the IDP camp, even with security persons there, they still get attacked. So I want your intervention on two things. First, the proliferation of NGOs and the the enterprise that comes out from humanitarian issues that we deal with in Nigeria due to insecurity on one hand, and the issue of attack of IDPs in places where IDPs are supposed to be IDPs. It's a camp. It's not a permanent residence in that sense.
Yeah. Now, let me just start with the last one that you asked. If you recall, I was on this station to discuss about the roundtable that we held with all the actors in the development and humanitarian sector of the country. And we did that based on the Renew Hope agenda of the president, which asks us to aggregate all the scarce resources that we have in the country to ensure that we target the right people in reaching out to them who have humanitarian challenges. But before I even come to that, let me just also add this fact that people feel that humanitarian action comes in when there's bad governance. Humanitarian actions, sometimes they are due to shocks that may not be due to bad governance. Climate change is not due to bad governance. It's not, but if you have flood, it's not due to bad governance. If you have, disasters, it's not due to bad governance. So there are several disasters that take place, and sometimes people go into economic mismanagement that also affect them. That's why globally, across all the world, you see people that are into different economic shocks, including the USA. I was in the US last month to visit some of the to launch the shock support for the World Bank, and we visited some of the issues that even America has, and they have some of the most terrible situations, more than what we have even here in terms of shocks also. So I think we shouldn't limit shocks to just bad governance. We should limit, which also expand the scope of disasters. But let me just add this: the roundtable has discussed to form a humanitarian council. The humanitarian council would deal with most of the issues that I talk about, the proliferation of NGOs that are involved in humanitarian actions. Hopefully, when we tidy up the paperwork on that, which we are working with the United Nations, the INGOs, the CSO, the state governments, and also the federal government, and all the agencies that are involved, and all the actors that are involved in both development and humanitarian activities, then we can now come up with a humanitarian council. And that would decide decisively on some of these actions and make policy statements on it. And once that is done, then we may improve on the quality of services that we provide by the NGOs. Then secondly, on the IDPs, I was in INEC and I worked with the IDPs, especially when I was in INEC. I was involved in working on the election in the IDP of displaced persons. But one of the critical factors that you talk about in the IDPs is the issue of security. For now, there's no data before me that I know of an IDP camp that was attacked, because the data are before the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and the IDPs. And there's no data as of last month that was brought to me that has an IDP camp that was attacked. No IDP camp for now that I have data of that has been attacked. All the IDP camps that we have, they have security around them, and they have data. And there's data by both my ministry and also the Office of the Vice President under NEMA. And there's no IDP for now, IDP camp for now that has been attacked. If a community that is maybe close to an IDP camp, also there are some times that some people are displaced and they stay in people's homes. That's not an IDP camp. For IDP camps, none for now is attacked.
Okay, so you're saying that, because let's contextualize the duration you're talking about, because as of January, early in the year, we still had reports.
Yes.
So are you saying that from that period till now, or you're saying in the past 1 week? Please contextualize the data, or at least the report you're giving us.
No, for last month, because every month I get a report.
For last month, okay.
Of what's happening in all the ITP camps. They give me a review.
All right.
Of what has happened in all the ITP camps, because it's an agency.
All right.
So I have an oversight over the agency.
All right. So let's also speak to the general humanitarian situation as well. You announced recently the UN Humanitarian Agency leaving Nigeria,
Yes.
plans to leave Nigeria because of budget cuts and all of that. So it's scaling back. In the same vein, you have the UN saying that there's the need for about $900 million to support humanitarian efforts just in northeast Nigeria alone. That's not to talk of north central, where you're from, by the way. And then you have the World Bank also making the predictions about more people falling into poverty. So it's a dire situation when you look at all of these things playing together. On the one hand, these bodies are pulling out. We need more money. So all of the weight that was being carried by other, global agencies now falls squarely on the Nigerian government at a time when, for example, the price of crude is falling. So we're not making what we ought to make in terms of the projection. But you get my point here, Honorable Minister. So I wonder,
yes.
How are you finding a way out of this dire situation? What more is the government doing in the light of these very dire circumstances?
Yeah. The government especially is making alternative approach to funding for the people who are affected by these shocks. For example, if you look at the budget of this year, additional 300 billion naira was provided in the health sector, because the support that UN gives mostly in the health sector was cured by the 300 billion naira that was provided for in the budget this year to ensure that the shock is not too visible. Secondly, there's also need for us also reach out to most of the communities that are within the areas that we are dealing with, especially the displaced communities that we have across the country. So what are we doing new? We are approaching some of the new funding, funding sources. For example, I just returned back from Qatar, where I reached out to most of the people that are within these communities, so that we can tackle most of the issues that are taking place within within these frames. So government, apart from reaching out to other sources of funding from other countries, which other foundations that we have across the globe, we're also working as a government to provide additional funding that can support these people. But in addition also, we're working on durable solutions. Durable solutions that can help people move out of poverty completely. Like we were in Benue, or working with governments. We have an MOU with the government of Benue, government of Katsina, also working with the government of government of Borno. And for all this government, we're asking them, the IDP should form cooperative. The cooperatives will now have 30% the people within the community and 70% people who are displaced are still in the community. These people will now be given support by government, and government will help them to farm. When they farm, 30% of the output will be the food component, while government can buy 70% from them and give them cash components. So they have both cash and food. What the food they will offtake from them will distribute to other IDPs that will not have. But that will help them exit, which means we're creating exit program for the IDPs. And that's a better way of empowerment than all the years we've taken. I've asked the UN and I asked several bodies. I said, for the past almost 15 years, you've been in the Northeast and providing a handout. What is the impact? How many people have exited poverty? How many people have been having IDP camps? And that's what government is changing strategy by ensuring that apart from just giving them handout, we are going to allow them to farm themselves so that IDPs should feed the IDPs. That's number one. Number two, this program we're having tomorrow, which is the skill set that we're training, is part of the exit plan that we're going to have for the IDPs and the empowerment program. Most of the people, even the IDPs, are also be selected as part of the people that are coming in for this training. These are part of the empowerment program we're going to do this year by helping most of them to exit out of poverty and exit out of the camp rather than being in the camp. So we want to get a durable solution for them. We're also having housing units we're building for them so they can build and they can move out of the IDP camps. In Nasarawa, we've already moved the displaced people out to the IDP camps. We have 100 housing units in Borno. We have 100 housing units in Kano. We have 50 housing units in Katsina. And we have some of the housing that we've already built, and this year we'll commission most of them. These are some of the programs we're doing to ensure that instead of working on handout, we're providing durable and permanent solution and exiting most of these people out of poverty. And that's the only way we can actually help to reduce these numbers. But let me just add these numbers also. When we look at the numbers that, like the health sector, out of the numbers of over $900 million that was said to be given in the health sector, the real numbers that comes to the people on ground is roughly about $300 million. And that's what government has secured by the budget we've done. So the same thing also in the humanitarian sector. So we hope that little money we have as a government will do far better than the so much money that comes from overseas, that has a lot of management fund, it has a lot of M&E, it has a lot of bringing of consultants and bringing of people from outside, which ends up consuming most of the money, not going directly to people that are beneficiaries. So these are some of the programs and targeting we are doing to ensure that we improve the quality and service that we're giving to displaced people and reducing poverty among displaced people, and also moving and exiting them out of the IDP camp, out of poverty at the same time.
Well, Honorable Minister, we have to wind down at least on this interview. There is a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
And people always refer to what the president said about letting the poor breathe. And they're saying, well, the poor is not breathing well. So for you, on your own dashboard, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well would you say the poor is breathing in Nigeria now?
So far with the numbers we're doing, if we do all these numbers, because we have budget for it already, like for the 50 million household we're targeting, all of them we have funding for them. The funding is available. It's also in the banks already. The government has separated that money and kept for us in central bank. So all we need to do is that as we're all doing the registration, we're actually offloading these people, which means that we're targeting 50 million households. Multiplied by roughly between 4 and 5. If you multiply even by 4, it means we're targeting roughly about 60 million people that will benefit from.
Honorable Minister, so on a scale of 1 to 10,
conditional cash transfer.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
On scale, if all these factors are taken care of, we should do between 70 to 80% in terms of scale of 1 to 10.
That is very, very generous, but of course I wouldn't expect anything less. But the people know where the shoe pinches, and we'll get an update in the coming days. We have to thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Professor Ntawa Yuwata, for your time on the program. Well, we'll take a quick break now. When we return, we speak with some wonderful Nigerians doing some great stuff. This will definitely inspire you, so stay with us. We'll be right back.